Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into something pretty amazing, your body's own internal defense systems. We'll be looking at how it protects itself, how it cleans house, basically.
Exactly. Think of this deep dive as understanding the really key ways your body fights back antioxidants and detoxification. These aren't just background noise. They're absolutely vital for keeping you healthy, preventing disease. Yeah. We'll get into the nitty-gritty of the molecules involved and why knowing this stuff actually matters for, your everyday health.
Okay, let's start with the attackers. These free radicals, or ROS, what are they really, down at the cell level?
Right, so picture these tiny molecules, highly unstable because they're missing an electron. Think of them as little troublemakers bouncing around, desperate to grab an electron from anywhere they can find one.
And that causes damage?
A lot of damage. When they steal an electron from, say, your cell membrane or DNA, they damage that molecule, and it can set off a chain reaction. That's the reactive part of reactive oxygen species.
Okay, chaos agents inside us. So how do we defend against that? Antioxidants, that's their job, right?
That's exactly their job. They're the heroes neutralizing these radicals. And there's sort of two main kinds. First, you have enzymatic antioxidants. Think superoxide dismutase catalase.
It's like specialized cleanup crews.
Yeah, precisely. They target specific radicals and convert them into harmless things like water or oxygen. Very efficient.
And the other type, the non-enzymatic ones.
Those are your direct fighters. Vitamin E is a great example. It sits in your cell membranes. It acts like a shield, sacrificing itself to stop radicals from damaging the fats there.
Okay. And vitamin C?
Vitamin C works in the watery parts of the cell, and it actually helps recharge vitamin E after it's done its job. And then there's glutathione, a really crucial one, working deep inside the cells, a major player.
You mentioned vitamin E stopping a chain reaction. Can you paint a picture of that? Like a micro battle?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine one free radical hits a fat molecule in your cell membrane, lipid peroxidation it's called. That damaged fat molecule now becomes a radical itself and attacks its neighbor. And that one attacks its neighbor. That's like dominoes falling or a fire spreading.
A chain reaction of damage.
Exactly. But then vitamin E steps in. It reacts with that radical, effectively stopping the chain, quenching the fire right there. It breaks the cycle.
Wow. Okay, so what happens if we don't have enough antioxidants or the radicals just overwhelm the system?
That's what we call oxidative stress. It's an imbalance. Too many damaging radicals, not enough defense. And this isn't just theoretical. Oxidative stress is linked to, well, a lot of major health issues. Things like aging, cancer, heart disease, even neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
So maintaining that balance is incredibly important. Okay, antioxidants handle the immediate damage control, but what about getting rid of toxins that make it into our system? That brings us to detoxification, right? And something called conjugation.
Precisely. Detox is the body's way of taking harmful compounds, often things from outside the body, xenobiotics, and making them safe to remove. It's usually a two-step process. Phase I is like activation.
Activation?
Yeah, enzymes, particularly the cytochrome P450 family, modify the toxin. They make it a bit more reactive, actually.
That sounds counterintuitive.
It does, but it prepares it perfectly for phase 2, which is conjugation.
Okay, so phase 2 is the main event for getting it out.
That's where the magic happens for removal. In conjugation, the modified toxin from phase I gets tagged, joined with another molecule, a polar one.
Make it water soluble.
Exactly. This tag makes the whole complex water soluble, so it can dissolve in your blood or bile and get flushed out easily, usually in urine or feces.
Can you give examples of these tags?
Sure. Glucuronic acid is a big one. Lots of drugs, and even your own hormones get tagged with it. A classic example is bilirubin, that yellow breakdown product from red blood cells. It gets conjugated with glucuronic acid so it can be excreted in bile. Without that step, you get jaundice.
Right, I see. Any others?
Yep, sulfate is another common tag, used for things like steroids or phenolic compounds. And guess who shows up again? Glutathione.
The antioxidant MVP.
The very same. It's also a master conjugator, taking various nasty compounds for removal. Shows just how versatile and vital it is.
So these detox pathways are critical for handling medications too, then?
Absolutely critical.
Yeah.
They determine how quickly your body processes a drug, how long it stays active, how effective it is. And the liver is the main hub for all this activity.
Which means liver problems could really mess things up.
Definitely. If the liver isn't working well, these pathways get impaired. drugs can build up to toxic levels, or waste products like bilirubin can accumulate, leading to things like jaundice, as we mentioned.
It really is remarkable. These complex systems, the antioxidants acting like shields and firefighters, and then the detox pathways acting like sophisticated waste disposal units, all working nonstop.
It's truly intricate. Which leads to a thought, for everyone listening. How do our choices, day-to-day what we eat, our environment, how do they support or maybe challenge these essential systems? What part of this whole self-defense, self-cleaning process really stands out to you? Something to think about.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really zooming in, going microscopic.
Yeah, deep inside you, actually.
We're looking at how your cells, power themselves up, and also, unfortunately, how they sometimes go rogue. Cancer.
Right, and we'll also touch on the actual structure, the scaffolding holding it all together.
Exactly. 3 big things, all connected.
It's quite a journey understanding these tiny, tiny mechanisms. But, it's fundamental to health, to disease.
To why things work, or sometimes, don't.
Precisely. It unlocks that bigger picture.
Okay, let's kick off with energy. The cell's power plant. Oxidative phosphorylation. Big word.
Yeah, it is. But the concept, think of it happening deep inside your mitochondria. Those are your cell's energy factories.
Right, and this is the main event for making ATP, the energy currency.
Absolutely. It's where the big payoff happens.
Yeah.
You've got these 2 main parts, the electron transport chain, the ETC, and then something called chemiosmosis.
So how does that chain work?
Well, electrons, high energy ones, from molecules like NADH and FADH2, they get passed along, like a microscopic bucket brigade, maybe.
Okay.
And as they move through these protein complexes in the inner mitochondrial membrane, they release energy.
And that energy does what?
It's used to pump protons, hydrogen ions, H+, out of the central part of the matrix into the space between the membranes.
Building up like a reservoir, a pressure.
Exactly. A proton gradient, think of it like water building up behind a dam. Lots of potential energy stored there.
Okay, so you have this proton dam, then what?
Then, those protons want to flow back down.
Right.
Back into the matrix. And they do, but only through a specific channel.
Which is?
ATP synthase. It's this incredible molecular machine. As protons rush through it, it spins, like a tiny turbine.
Wow, and that spinning.
That spinning motion provides the energy to stick a phosphate onto ADP, making ATP, lots of it. You get about 2.5 ATP for each NADH, maybe 1.5 for FADH2. It's efficient.
So this isn't just some minor process. This is the engine, powering pretty much everything your cells do every second.
It really is the core power source.
But what happens when these finely tuned systems, or maybe the instructions for them, the genes, get messed up?
Yeah, that's where things can go terribly wrong. Which leads us into carcinogenesis, cancer development.
It's basically normal cells transforming.
Right.
Becoming cancerous.
Exactly. It's a multi-step process, usually involving changes to the cell's DNA, genetic mutations, or epigenetic changes that affect how genes are read. These disrupt the normal controls on cell growth.
Controls like stop signs and go signs.
Sort of, yeah. We talk about 2 key types of genes here. First, you have oncogenes. These are like mutated accelerator pedals.
Go.
Right. They promote uncontrolled cell growth. A classic example is the RAS gene. If it mutates, it can get stuck in the on position, constantly telling the cell, divide.
Okay, so that's the accelerator. What about the brakes?
Those are the tumor suppressor genes. Their normal job is to stop cell growth, or trigger repairs, or even programmed cell death if things are too damaged.
Like P53. I've heard of that one.
That's the famous one, often called the guardian of the genome. It's crucial. But if P53 or other tumor suppressors get mutated or switched off,
the brakes fail.
And the cell can just keep multiplying, even with errors building up.
Yeah.
It starts with an initiation, like an initial mutation. Then promotion, where these mutated cells start dividing more. And finally, progression, where they pick up more mutations, become more aggressive, maybe invade tissues or spread. Metastasis.
And understanding this, it must help with treatments.
Absolutely. If we connect it to the bigger picture, knowing about specific genes like, say, BRCA1 and BRCA2 for breast cancer risk, or identifying specific oncogenes driving a tumor, that allows for targeted therapies, drugs designed to hit those specific faulty parts. It raises an important question, though, doesn't it? How these tiny errors cascade.
It really does. Okay, so we've got energy production and we've got cells going rogue. But where is all this happening? Like, what's the physical environment inside our tissues?
Ah, right, the stage itself. That brings us to the extracellular matrix, the ECM.
The body's invisible scaffold, you called it.
Pretty much. It's this complex network outside the cells. It's made of molecules and minerals that the cells themselves actually secrete. It provides structure, but also biochemical support.
So it's not just empty space between cells.
Not at all. It's packed with important stuff. Key components include fibrous proteins. Think collagen, that's the most abundant protein in your body. It gives incredible tensile strength, like tiny ropes. There's this cool triple helix structure.
And elastin.
Elastin gives it stretchiness, that rubber-like quality. Lets tissues like your skin or lungs recoil after being stretched.
Okay, so ropes and elastic bands. What else?
There's also the ground substance. Sounds a bit vague, but it's important.
Yeah.
It includes things like proteoglycans, they hold on to water, keeping tissues hydrated, and glycoproteins like fibronectin and laminin, which help cells stick to the matrix and find their way around.
So it's doing more than just holding things up. It sounds like it's actively involved.
Oh, definitely. It's a scaffold, yes. But it also helps cells stick together, guides their movement, and it can even act like a reservoir, storing and releasing growth factors that influence cell behavior.
And when this matrix has problems, the consequences are significant.
Hugely significant. Think about osteogenesis imperfecta, brittle bone disease. That's often a defect in collagen. Or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, where collagen issues lead to things like hypermobile joints and stretchy skin. Even something like scurvy. That's just a vitamin C deficiency. But vitamin C is essential for making collagen properly. Without it, you get fragile blood vessels, bleeding gums. It really shows how vital this microscopic structure is for our whole body's integrity.
Amazing. So we've journeyed from like these tiny proton pumps making energy to the molecular chaos of cancer, and then zoomed out to see the actual architecture, the ECM, holding our tissues together. It's all interconnected.
It really is a constant dynamic interplay.
It's quite incredible when you stop and think about it all working inside you right now.
Absolutely. And consider this, that intricate balance, the energy flow, the genetic checks and balances, the structural fibers like collagen. It's not just keeping you alive, it's this constant self-organizing marvel of biology. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other hidden scaffolds or power plants are humming away inside you, shaping your health, your experiences, in ways we're maybe just beginning to understand?
Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're doing a deep dive into, well, the really incredible world of biochemistry. We're looking at two fundamental things that impact your health and how your cells actually power themselves. So our mission for you today is to pull out the most important bits from our sources covering enzymes, their versatile uses, and also the different ways your body generates energy. Get ready for some, hopefully, moments about these tiny powerhouses inside you. All right, first up, enzymes. These amazing molecular workhorses. It really is surprising how many critical jobs they do, especially in medicine. Like for diagnostics, think of them as tiny detectives inside your body. If you have elevated levels of, say, amylase and lipase in your blood, that can point straight to pancreatitis. Or, something really serious like a heart attack. Elevated creatine kinase, CK, and troponins. Those are key signs.
Right, those proteins released from damaged heart muscle.
Exactly. It's like a medical shortcut, really, to figuring out what's going on.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here isn't just the diagnostics, it's their therapeutic potential, too. Yeah. Enzymes aren't just flags, they can actually be treatments. Their precision is, kind of genius. You've got urokinase and streptokinase, for instance. There are enzymes used to dissolve dangerous blood clots.
Wow.
And then there's asparaginase for certain leukemias, or even the lactase enzyme lots of people take for lactose intolerance. They actually go in and do the work the body might be struggling with.
That's incredible. So they're like tiny targeted biological tools. And you mentioned diagnostics and treatments in us, but they're also key in the lab, right? As analytical tools.
Precisely. And what makes them so powerful there is their specificity. It's unmatched.
Specificity. Meaning they only react with one particular thing.
Exactly. It's like having a key that only opens one specific lock. Think about glucose oxidase. That's the enzyme in glucometers measuring blood sugar. Vital for so many people daily. Or urease, used to measure urea levels. They just zero in on exactly what needs measuring. Makes analysis super accurate and pretty fast.
Okay, so enzymes help us understand, treat, and analyze things at this tiny molecular level. But what about the basic fuel, the energy that drives all the cellular activity? That brings us to ATP, right? How our cells actually make their main energy currency.
Right, and this is where I think the sheer elegance of cell biology really shines. We can start with the chemiosmotic theory, Peter Mitchell's idea. It explains oxidative phosphorylation.
Oxidative phosphorylation.
Okay,
Yeah.
so imagine your cells have these tiny, like, hydroelectric power plants inside, specifically in the mitochondria,
Okay.
like a dam.
Sort of. You have electrons from energy carriers like NADH and FADH2, and they flow down this chain of protein complexes. The energy released from that flow is used to pump protons-H plus ions across a membrane from the mitochondrial matrix out into the inner membrane space. So you build up this gradient, this proton concentration difference, like water building up behind that dam.
Ah, I see, creating potential energy. Exactly. It's an electrochemical gradient, often called the proton motive force. And this force then drives the protons back across the membrane, but only through a specific channel. That channel is an enzyme itself, called ATP synthase. Think of it like a molecular turbine.
A turbine.
Yeah, as protons flow through it, it spins, and that mechanical energy powers the synthesis of ATP, lots of it. It's this really grand, multi-step, highly efficient process. It's where most of our cellular energy comes from.
That is a brilliant system, a molecular hydroelectric dam.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. But it sounds, well, quite involved, lots of steps. Are there times when a cell needs energy, like now, without all that setup?
Oh, absolutely. That's where the second method comes in.
Okay.
Substrate level phosphorylation.
Okay.
This is much more direct. Think of it as quick cash for the cell, energy-wise. You don't need that whole proton gradient machinery. Instead, a phosphate group gets transferred directly from a high-energy molecule, a substrate, straight onto ADP or GDP.
ADP to make ATP, or GDP for GTP, another energy carrier?
Exactly. It's a direct handoff.
So what's the real difference then, or the trade-off for the cell? Why have both?
Well, the key difference is basically speed versus yield. Substrate level phosphorylation is fast. It doesn't need the electron transport chain, doesn't need oxygen in the same way, doesn't need ATP synthase. It happens right there in the cytoplasm during glycolysis. You get a quick burst of net 2 ATP that way.
Just 2, compared to oxidative phosphorylation.
Right, much less. Oxidative phosphorylation can yield, upwards of 30 ATP per glucose molecule eventually.
Yeah.
Substrate level phosphorylation also happens in the Krebs cycle inside the mitochondria, making some GTP, so it yields way less ATP, but it's crucial for rapid energy needs or when oxygen might be limited, when that big hydroelectric dam maybe isn't running at full capacity.
Wow, what an incredible deep dive. We've gone from these highly specific enzymes acting like scalpels for diagnosis and treatment, all the way to the 2 core strategies our cells use for energy: the big power plant of oxidative phosphorylation and the quick payoff of substrate level phosphorylation, powering literally every single thing you do.
And it really brings up a fascinating point for you to think about. How do these pathways, these different energy strategies, actually interact? How are they regulated, like minute by minute, to meet the constantly shifting energy demands of your body? It's just, well, a testament to the incredible intricacy and balance of life at that molecular scale.
Absolutely. So next time you hear about a blood test result, or you feel that burst of energy for a run, or even just blink, maybe you'll have a slightly clearer picture of the amazing molecular machines working constantly behind the scenes. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into some really fascinating biology, stuff that keeps us all going.
That's right.
We think of our defenses, the immune system, as maybe just a wall, but it's so much more complex, really intricate.
It really is.
So we'll explore that, and then look at a couple of, well, quite compelling health situations from the sources you've gathered, real-world cases.
Exactly. The plan is, first, a quick look at how your body defends itself, the basics. Then we'll see how tiny metabolic details, things you might not even think about, can cause big problems, like a baby getting strangely sick or an adult developing liver issues.
Connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots, yeah. From molecules to real health outcomes.
Okay, let's unpack the immune system then. It's like not just one entity, right? There are 2 main branches.
It's 2 core branches working together.
So first up is cellular immunity. I think of these as the body's cellular soldiers.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. These are your T lymphocytes, T cells. They get their training, so to speak, in the thymus.
And they have different jobs.
Oh, absolutely. You've got helper T cells, the coordinators. They activate other immune cells. Then there are the cytotoxic T cells. These are the direct killers. They find cells infected with viruses or even cancerous cells and take them out.
Wow, targeted strikes.
Very targeted. And crucially, there are memory T cells. They remember past infections. So if the same threat comes back, the response is much, much faster, long-term protection.
Okay, so T cells handle threats inside our cells. What about things floating around like in our blood or fluids?
Good question. That's where the second branch, humoral immunity, comes in.
Yeah.
Think of it as the liquid defense.
Liquid defense, okay.
This relies on B lymphocytes or B cells. They mature in the bone marrow. Now, when a B cell gets activated, it changes. It becomes a plasma cell.
And plasma cells do what?
They become antibody factories, churning out these Y-shaped proteins called antibodies or immunoglobulins. These antibodies then circulate everywhere in your blood, your lymph. They act like little flags, latching onto specific invaders like bacteria or viruses, marking them for destruction by other parts of the immune system. It neutralizes threats before they get inside cells.
So you've got the cell-to-cell combat with T cells and this sort of antibody patrol in the fluids with B cells.
Exactly. Two different strategies, but they're constantly communicating and coordinating. It's quite elegant, really.
It really is. But what happens when something goes wrong? Even a small thing. I mean, sometimes just one tiny piece missing can cause chaos, right?
Absolutely. And that leads us perfectly into our first case study. Picture this, a 9-month-old baby showing up with persistent diarrhea, vomiting, looks jaundiced, yellow skin, and eyes very lethargic.
Okay.
Yeah, and the doctors find an enlarged liver and spleen that's hepatosplenomegaly and, quite strikingly, cataracts in the eyes.
Cataracts in a baby that young.
Exactly. That specific symptom, the cataracts, along with everything else, and maybe a positive test called the mucic acid test, it points very strongly towards galactosemia.
Galactosemia. So what is that fundamentally?
It's a metabolic disorder. The core problem is a missing enzyme. Specifically, galactose-1 phosphate uridyl transferase, bit of a mouthful.
Okay, so like a crucial worker missing from the assembly line?
Precisely. This enzyme is essential for processing galactose, a sugar found in milk. Without it, galactose and its byproducts build up. One key toxic byproduct is galactitol.
Galactitol, and that causes the cataracts.
Yes, it accumulates in the lens of the eye. Because it draws water and an osmotic effect, it clouds the lens. That's your cataract. And you'd also see galactose and galactitol spilling into the urine.
Wow. So one missing enzyme just cascades through the system.
It's a stark reminder, isn't it, how critical these tiny biochemical steps are.
Definitely. Okay, shifting gears a bit, but sticking with metabolic issues, let's talk about fatty liver disease. We have this case, a 60-year-old man, loss of appetite, enlarged liver, diagnosis, fatty liver. What exactly is fatty liver?
So fatty liver, or the medical term is hepatic steatosis, is basically an abnormal buildup of fat, specifically triglycerides, inside the liver cells.
And what usually causes that?
Well, common culprits are things like obesity, type 2 diabetes, and significant alcohol consumption.
Right, you often hear about it with alcoholism.
Right.
Why is that link so strong?
Yeah, there's a really interesting biochemical reason. When your body metabolizes alcohol, it changes the balance of certain molecules. Specifically, it increases the ratio of NADH to NAD+.
NADH to NAD+, right. Okay, and why does that ratio matter for fat in the liver?
Think of that ratio as a sort of metabolic switch. When it's high, like after drinking alcohol, it actually tells the liver not to burn fatty acids for energy.
Yeah.
And worse, it promotes the synthesis of new fatty acids. So you're not burning fat and you're making more fat. All those extra triglycerides just get stored right there in the liver cells.
So the liver gets clogged up with fat because of that metabolic shift from alcohol.
That's the core mechanism, yes. Which of course points towards prevention. Things like a balanced diet, managing your weight, and definitely limiting alcohol intake are key.
Makes sense.
And there are also substances called lipotropic factors, things like choline, methionine, that can help. They actually help the liver mobilize and process fat, sort of help clear it out.
Fascinating. So we've gone from the immune system's T cells and B cells, these microscopic defenders, all the way to, well, metabolic traffic jams in the liver caused by diet or alcohol, and enzyme issues causing problems like cataracts in infants.
It really covers a lot of ground, doesn't it? From the immune response right down to specific enzyme functions and metabolic pathways.
It really shows how interconnected everything is. Tiny changes, big effects.
Absolutely, and that maybe leaves us with a thought for you, the listener. Thinking about these cases, how much does understanding these sort of really precise molecular details change how you view health? I mean, it reveals the huge impact of seemingly tiny biochemical imbalances, right? It makes you wonder how many other small biological details have these massive, far-reaching consequences for our overall well-being. Something to think about. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're setting out on a mission, really, to unravel 3 biological puzzles for you. They seem distinct, but I think you'll find them fascinatingly connected.
Absolutely. We're going from, the basic building blocks of life itself to a really critical guardian inside our cells, and then landing on a quite striking real-world medical case.
And the thread connecting them all, hopefully revealing some of that biological interconnectedness you mentioned, maybe a few aha moments for you listening.
That's the plan. It shows how everything really does work together, sometimes in unexpected ways.
Okay, let's start with phospholipids. We hear they're major components of cell membranes, the architects of life's boundaries almost. What makes their design so fundamental?
It really comes down to their unique structure. They have this split personality, if you like. A head part that loves water hydrophilic.
Okay, water-loving head.
And then 2 tails that absolutely repel water hydrophobic. And because of this, when you put them in water, they automatically arrange themselves. They form this double layer, the lipid bilayer.
So they self-assemble into the basic structure of the cell membrane.
Exactly. It's the perfect way to create a stable, self-sealing boundary between the watery inside of a cell and the watery outside. Like microscopic Lego bricks clicking together.
That's a great analogy. So this structure isn't just a wall, it's dynamic, right? Does that mean there are different kinds of phospholipids doing different jobs?
Oh, absolutely. Many kinds. We group them into families like glycerophospholipids and sphingophospholipids based on their backbone structure.
And they have specialized roles.
Definitely. Take phosphatidylcholine. It's a major player in lung surfactant.
Lung surfactant, what does it do there?
It's crucial. It reduces the surface tension inside the tiny air sacs in your lungs. Without it, your lungs would basically struggle to inflate properly. They could even collapse.
Wow. So vital for breathing.
Mm-hmm. And others, like phosphatidyl and acetyl, are key for cell signaling, sending messages within the cell. And sphingomyelin is essential for insulating nerve fibers. So yeah, structure, signaling, insulation, diverse roles.
Okay, from the cell's boundary, let's move inside to a specific gene, P53, often called the guardian of the genome. That's quite a title. What makes it so vital?
It really earns that title. P53 is a tumor suppressor gene. Its core mission is basically to prevent cancer.
How does it do that?
Think of it as quality control. When a cell gets stressed, maybe DNA damage from radiation or toxins, P53 protein levels rise and it gets activated.
And then what happens? What does activated P53 do?
Its first step is usually to slam the brakes on the cell cycle, specifically at the G1S checkpoint.
Before the cell copies its DNA.
Precisely. That pause gives the cell a chance to repair the DNA damage.
Okay, so it tries to fix the problem first.
Right. But if the damage is too severe, if it's beyond repair, P53 then takes a drastic step. It triggers apoptosis.
Programmed cell death.
Exactly. It basically tells the cell to self-destruct, to eliminate the potential threat before it can become cancerous.
An incredible defense mechanism. But, despite P53, cancer still happens. In fact, I read that mutations in P53 are incredibly common in cancers.
Sadly, yes. More than half of all human cancers have a mutated P53 gene.
So cancer finds a way to disable its guardian.
That's a good way to put it. If P53 is mutated, it can't do its job. It can't halt the cell cycle or trigger apoptosis.
Yeah.
So damaged cells just keep dividing uncontrollably. That's, the hallmark of cancer.
Which explains why targeting P53 or pathways around it is such a focus in cancer therapy.
Absolutely. Many treatments aim to either reactivate faulty P53 or find ways to kill the cells that have lost its protection.
Okay, let's pivot now to a real-world situation that ties some of these metabolic ideas together. A case study. Imagine a 57-year-old man, diabetic, from Jamaica. He comes in with severe vomiting, he's confused, and his blood sugar is dangerously low, 43 milligDO.
Very low, yeah.
And lab tests show lots of something called dicarboxylic acid in his urine. He mentions taking some local herbs to help with his blood sugar. What could be going on?
Well, with that combination, the low glucose, the vomiting, confusion, the dicarboxylic acids, and critically, the Jamaican origin and mention of herbs, it points very strongly towards something called Jamaican vomiting sickness.
Jamaican vomiting sickness. What causes that? It sounds specific.
It is. The culprit is a toxin called hypoglycin A, and it's found, maybe surprisingly, in unripe ackee fruit.
Ackee fruit. So the local herbs might have actually been unripe ackee or something containing it.
That's highly likely, yes. People might use traditional remedies without realizing the danger if the fruit isn't properly ripened and prepared.
Okay, so how does this hypoglycinate toxin cause such severe low blood sugar and those weird acids in the urine? What's the metabolic breakdown?
It's quite specific. Hypoglycin A inhibits a really crucial enzyme needed for beta oxidation. That's the process of breaking down fatty acids for energy.
Right, using fats for fuel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, this patient was diabetic, likely already managing his glucose. When hypoglycin A blocked his ability to use fats, and his glucose was already low, his body couldn't compensate.
So he couldn't make new glucose either.
Precisely. It severely impairs gluconeogenesis, making glucose from other sources like amino acids or lactate. So you get this profound, dangerous drop in blood sugar, hypoglycemia.
And the dicarboxylic acids, where do they come from?
That's also a consequence of blocking fatty acid breakdown. When the normal pathway is blocked, the body tries alternative routes, and these intermediate fatty acid metabolites build up. They get shunted into a different pathway that produces dicarboxylic acids, which then spill into the urine. It's a biochemical fingerprint of that specific enzyme inhibition.
Wow, that's a powerful example of how one toxin can just derail critical energy pathways.
It really is. A single molecule disrupting fundamental metabolism.
So, thinking back, we've gone from the very architecture of our cells with phospholipids to the genetic guardian P53 protecting our DNA, and now to this clinical case where a natural toxin wreaks havoc on metabolism. It really highlights how interconnected everything is.
It truly does. You see how the body is this complex network, always striving for balance, for homeostasis, and understanding how something seemingly small a component in a fruit, an herbal remedy, can disrupt that balance, gives us, well, incredible insight into health and disease.
It definitely makes you think.
And it leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What other everyday things, maybe foods or substances we encounter, might have these hidden, profound impacts on our internal chemistry? And maybe more importantly, how can you listening use this kind of knowledge to understand your own body and the world just a little bit better?
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on something you might think is pretty straightforward. Glucose metabolism.
Right.
You probably think, okay, energy, job done.
But, well, what we're about to unpack is actually far more intricate.
Definitely. We're talking surprising alternative routes, crucial roles in protecting your cells.
And even building blocks for life itself.
Exactly. So our mission today really is to explore one vital, often overlooked glucose pathway.
Okay.
And then look at a fascinating genetic condition tied right into it. And finally, zoom out a bit to the bigger picture, the hormonal dance regulating your blood sugar.
It sounds like it's all deeply connected.
Oh, absolutely. More than you might think for just, your day-to-day health.
Okay, let's dive in then. First stop, the pentose phosphate pathway, PPP. Now, what's really interesting here, you said it's an alternative route for glucose oxidation. Happens in the cytoplasm, right?
Oh, right.
But here's the kicker. It doesn't make ATP. No main energy currency.
That's the key point. It's not about immediate power. So what's it doing then? What's its secret purpose?
Well, it makes two incredibly vital things for, let's say, long-term resilience and building stuff.
Okay, like what?
First up, NADPH. Now, think of this as like your cell's personal bodyguard against damage.
Okay.
It's essential for building things like fatty acids, complex manufacturing jobs inside the cell.
Right.
But critically, it protects cells, especially your red blood cells, from oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress. That's like a cellular rust, basically, things breaking down.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, free radicals are damaging molecules.
Yeah.
NADPH helps neutralize them, stops the rusting.
Got it. And the second product?
Ribose 5-phosphate. And this is fundamental. It's the actual building block, the raw material for making DNA, RNA. Even ATP itself needs it.
Wow. So without the PPP, you can't even build your genetic code or energy molecules.
Pretty much. It's not just about energy for today, it's about the blueprint for tomorrow. Life's instruction manual, kind of.
So the PPP is like this essential workshop, defense and construction. But what if a key tool in that workshop breaks? An enzyme goes missing.
Ah, now you're getting to G6PD deficiency. Glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, G6PD, is a key enzyme right at the start of the PPP.
Okay.
So a deficiency, a lack of this enzyme, means you can't make enough NADPH. Your cellular bodyguard is weakened.
And the effect, I imagine those red blood cells are suddenly very exposed.
Extremely vulnerable.
Yeah.
Defenseless against those free radicals, that oxidative stress we talked about.
Right.
And we see this clinically. Certain things can trigger a crisis, things you wouldn't expect.
Like what?
Well, certain sulfa drugs, infections, even eating fava beans.
Fava beans? Really?
Yep. For someone with a deficiency, it can be like a biochemical landmine. These triggers cause massive oxidative stress.
Helium too.
Hemolytic anemia. Basically, the red blood cells just get destroyed rapidly.
Yeah.
And that often leads to jaundice, the yellowing of skin and eyes.
Wow. All from one missing enzyme. And it's genetic, you mentioned.
Yes, it's X-linked recessive. This means it primarily affects males because they only have one X chromosome. A single faulty copy is enough.
Okay, so we've gone from this intricate pathway down to a single gene affecting red blood cells. Let's zoom out now. How does the body manage glucose overall? The big picture.
Right, the hormonal ballet. It's about keeping blood glucose levels incredibly stable. Your brain, especially, needs that constant supply.
And the main dancers are?
Two key hormones with basically opposite jobs. First, insulin comes from the pancreas beta cells.
The one everyone knows from diabetes.
Exactly. It's hypoglycemic, it lowers blood sugar, it tells your cells, hey, take up this glucose, and tells your liver and muscles, store it as glycogen.
Like a store now signal. And the
glucagon from the alpha cells. Also the pancreas, it's hyperglycemic, it raises blood sugar.
No.
It tells the liver, okay, break down that stored glycogen and also make new glucose. It's the release and make more signal.
So they're constantly doing this push and pull to keep things level.
Incredibly delicate balance, yes.
And when that balance breaks, that's where we see major problems, right? Like diabetes.
Precisely. Type 2 diabetes, for instance.
Yeah.
It's often not just about lack of insulin initially. It's insulin resistance. The cells just stop listening properly to insulin's signal.
So the glucose can't get in, builds up in the blood.
Exactly. And type 1 is different. The body's own immune system destroys the insulin-making beta cells. Total lack of insulin.
And then there's the other extreme, low blood sugar.
Hypoglycemia, yeah. Abnormally low levels that can cause confusion, seizures, even coma. It really shows how vital that tight control is.
It really does highlight this this intricate dance, doesn't it, between tiny pathways like the PPP and these big hormonal controllers.
Absolutely. From one enzyme like G6PD protecting a single cell type up to insulin glucagon managing the whole body's energy budget. It's all dictating our health moment by moment.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. And it leaves you wondering, what other seemingly small metabolic players inside you are having these huge, maybe unrecognized impacts on your overall health and resilience right now? Something to ponder.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a journey into, well, two really fundamental aspects of human health.
Right.
We're looking at the body's architecture, its structural proteins, and then the absolutely critical role nutrition plays.
Yeah, and our goal really is to unpack how even tiny defects, tiny deficiencies can lead to these systemic health issues. Some quite surprising connections there.
Definitely surprising. So the mission.
It's about understanding collagen and elastin. Think of them as the body's key building materials. And then we'll explore the really stark differences, quite counterintuitive sometimes, in how the body reacts to specific protein versus calorie shortages.
Yeah, okay, should lead to some aha moments.
Hopefully. You'll see why things that seem similar on the surface actually look very different in the body.
All right, let's jump right in then. The blueprint of life. Collagen. That's the body's main scaffolding protein.
Exactly. The primary one.
And something like scurvy, we think vitamin C deficiency, but it's more direct than that.
It is. I mean, the lack of vitamin C is the problem, but why? It's because vitamin C is absolutely essential for hydroxylation.
Hydroxylation. Remind me.
It's a chemical step that basically cross-links and stabilizes collagen fibers, makes them strong. Without vitamin C, you can't do that properly.
Okay, so you get weak, unstable collagen.
Precisely. And that's where you see the bleeding gums, the poor wound healing, the fragile blood vessels. It's the collagen structure failing.
Wow. So it's fundamental, and that links nutrition directly to structural integrity.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond nutrition. Think about genetic disorders like osteogenesis imperfecta, brittle bone disease.
Right.
That's a defect in collagen type I. makes bones incredibly fragile. Or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome that affects collagen synthesis too, leading to things like, hypermobile joints, really stretchy skin.
So it shows how crucial that one protein is. A flaw there just ripples outwards.
It really does. It cascades because collagen is everywhere. Bones, skin, blood vessels.
Okay, so if collagen is the rigid scaffold, what about elastin? That's the flexibility.
That's the perfect way to put it. The body's rubber bands. It provides the stretch and recoil.
And if that fails, something like cutis laxa.
Yeah, cutis laxa is a good example. You lack functional elastin, so the skin becomes loose, hangs and holds, doesn't snap back. Wrinkled appearance.
Interesting.
And this connects to other conditions too, like Marfan syndrome. That's genetic.
Marfan, right?
It's a mutation in fibrillin 1. Now, fibrillin 1 isn't elastin itself, but it's like the organizer. It helps assemble the elastic fibers correctly.
Okay, so if the organizer is faulty,
then the elastic fibers don't form properly, they lose their springiness. And that causes problems all over skeleton, eyes, and crucially, the cardiovascular system. Weak arterial walls, for instance.
Which really drives home that question you raise, how compromising one component affects the whole system.
Exactly.
So we've got these building blocks, collagen, elastin, but where do the raw materials come from? That takes us to nutrition, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And what happens when those raw materials are missing? That leads us straight into protein energy malnutrition, or PEM.
PEM, a huge global health issue.
Massive.
Yeah.
It's from prolonged lack of protein or calories, or often both. And it generally falls into two main types, marasmus and kwashiorkor.
And they look very different, right? Despite both being malnutrition.
Strikingly different.
Yeah.
And understanding why is key. Let's start with marasmus. This is caused by a severe lack of both protein and calories. Total starvation, essentially.
Okay, so what does that look like?
You see severe wasting, emaciation, but doctors sometimes use the term wizened old man appearance, which sounds harsh, but it describes that severe loss of body fat and muscle. Very thin, poor growth, irritability. But crucially, no edema, no swelling.
No swelling, okay. But then kwashiorkor, that's the one with swelling.
It's the one. And this is where it gets counterintuitive. Kwashiorkor is primarily from severe protein deficiency, even if calorie intake is, well, maybe closer to adequate.
So calories might be there, but not enough protein.
Exactly. And the hallmark sign is edema swelling. Usually starts in the legs and feet, often the abdomen too. It gives this sort of swollen, even plumpish look, which is deceptive because there's still underlying muscle wasting.
Why the swelling then? What's the mechanism?
It comes down to protein in the blood, specifically albumin. Severe protein deficiency leads to low serum albumin hypoalbuminemia. Albumin helps keep fluid inside blood vessels.
Like osmotic pressure.
Sort of, yeah. It maintains oncotic pressure. So when albumin levels drop drastically, there's not enough pull to hold fluid in the capillaries. It leaks out into the surrounding tissues.
And that causes the edema.
Well, that's the main driver. You also see other signs like changes in hair, sparse, brittle, maybe losing pigment, and skin changes, plus that distended belly.
So the contrast is just stark. Marasmus leads to extreme thinness, kwashiorkor to this deceptive, dangerous swelling, all based on what's missing.
It really highlights how the body responds differently depending on the specific deficiency. It's not just malnutrition.
Fascinating, and also quite sobering.
It is. I mean, our look today really shows the deep links between our genes, the molecules they build, like collagen and elastin, and what we eat.
Yeah.
From scurvy, a nutritional issue hitting protein structure, to genetic like osteogenesis imperfecta, and then these PEM types. It all points to this intricate balance needed for health.
A failure point, genetic or dietary, can just unravel things system-wide.
That's the core message.
So as we wrap up, here's something for you to think about. We've seen these conditions, some genetic affecting structure like Marfan, others nutritional like kwashiorkor or scurvy, which itself connects nutrition to structure. They seem distinct, but they underscore the same vital point, don't they? The body is this incredibly complex, interwoven system. And even small changes, small deviations from the planned genetic typos or dietary gaps can trigger these widespread, really profound effects. So the question is, what other basic biological processes might have these kinds of hidden, far-reaching consequences that maybe we're only just starting to grasp? Something to ponder.
Ever wondered what's really going on inside your body when things go wrong? Or maybe how it defends itself, like down at the microscopic level? Today, we're doing a deep dive looking at some clinical scenarios and biochemical research you shared with us.
Yeah, some really fascinating stuff here.
Our mission is basically to unpack the key insights from these sources.
Yeah.
We're talking about everything from figuring out a medical emergency to understanding how, say, vitamins protect your cells. Okay, let's get into it.
Sounds good.
We're starting with a pretty striking clinical case. A 56-year-old man found in a coma.
Right.
Now, the sources say he had this fruity smell to his breath, really high blood sugar, 270 milli-GDL, and urine tests positive for sugars and these things called ketone bodies.
Okay.
Plus, his blood pH was way down at 7.05, which is dangerously acidic. So, with all that, what's the immediate crisis happening here physiologically?
Well, this picture strongly points towards diabetic ketoacidosis, or DKA.
DK.
Yeah. And what's so striking is how all these pieces, the high sugar, the ketones, and especially that low pH, they all fit together perfectly. It shows the body is really struggling because it doesn't have enough insulin.
And the fruity breath.
Oh, yeah, the fruity breath is a classic sign. That's actually acetone, one of those ketone bodies, being breathed out. It's quite distinctive.
So it sounds like a pretty dangerous metabolic situation. Thinking about the sources, what's the sort of critical point of failure in this whole DKA cascade?
Yeah.
What makes it so life-threatening so quickly?
Good question. The core problem, the critical failure, is that the body just can't use glucose for energy because there isn't enough insulin to let the glucose into the cells.
Right. No fuel.
Exactly. So it switches gears and starts burning fatty acids instead. But this backup plan, well, it goes haywire. It produces way too many ketone bodies, things like acetoacetate, hydroxybutyrate, and that acetone we mentioned. Now, 2 of these are acids, and they build up so much, they just overwhelm the body's natural buffering systems. That's what causes the blood pH to plummet, severe metabolic acidosis.
And that acidosis is the real danger.
Absolutely. It messes with everything. Enzyme function, organ systems, it can all start shutting down. The kidneys try to help by dumping ketones into the urine. That's the ketonuria mentioned, but they often can't keep up.
Wow. This is a really stark example of, the body's balancing act getting completely thrown off.
Definitely.
Now, while DKA shows this acute fight, our sources also talk about a different kind of battle, maybe more insidious. Lipid peroxidation.
Yes.
This seems like a fundamental process behind a lot of chronic stuff you might not immediately think is related to cellular chemistry. So how exactly does this destructive chain reaction get started and keep going?
Right, lipid peroxidation. Think of it as rust, but for your cells, specifically the fats, the lipids in your cell membranes, it kicks off with a free radical.
A free radical, like a rogue molecule.
Exactly, a highly reactive molecule, often with an unpaired electron looking to steal one from somewhere else. It targets a polyunsaturated fatty acid, or PUFA, those are the more vulnerable fats in our cell membranes, and snatches a hydrogen atom. This creates a new, unstable molecule, a lipid radical. That's the start, the initiation phase.
And then it just sort of snowballs from there, creates more damage.
Precisely, that's the propagation phase. This new lipid radical reacts very quickly with oxygen, forming an even nastier molecule called a lipid peroxyl radical.
Oh, wow.
And this radical then attacks another nearby PUFA, stealing its hydrogen, creating another lipid radical, plus something called a lipid hydroperoxide. And that new lipid radical, it just keeps the chain going.
So it's a vicious cycle.
It is. And the real insight here isn't just the chemistry, it's how widespread this is. It's like a constant low-level siege on our cells. And it's implicated in things like, atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, and even neurodegenerative diseases.
Okay, so if our cells are under this constant siege, how does the body actually fight back? The sources we looked at really highlighted antioxidant vitamins. How do they step in?
Yeah, that's the crucial question, isn't it? How do you stop this chain reaction? This is where antioxidants like vitamin E and vitamin C are heroes.
Right.
Vitamin E, specifically the form called alpha-tocopherol, is really clever. It's lipid soluble, meaning it dissolves in fat.
So you can get right into the cell membrane where the damage is happening.
So it can get right into the cell membrane where the damage is happening.
Exactly. It lives right there in the membrane, and it acts as a chain breaker. It donates one of its own hydrogen atoms directly to that dangerous lipid peroxyl radical.
And that stops it.
It stops that radical dead in its tracks.
Huh.
It breaks the chain reaction, protecting the membrane lipids.
But vitamin C plays a role too, doesn't it? It's not just vitamin E working alone.
Precisely. Great point. When vitamin E donates its hydrogen, it actually becomes a radical itself, although a much less reactive one.
So it needs to be regenerated. That's where vitamin C, which is water-soluble, comes in. It hangs out nearby in the watery parts of the cell or near the membrane surface, and it gives an electron back to the vitamin E radical.
So it resets vitamin E.
It resets it. Regenerates the active form of vitamin E so it can go on neutralizing more radicals. It's a really beautiful example of antioxidant synergy. They work together, recycle each other for much better protection.
It's amazing. So we've gone from this acute crisis of DKA, body completely out of balance, to this ongoing subtle battle against cell damage, like lipid peroxidation, all illuminated by the research you shared.
Yeah, it really underscores how incredibly complex and interconnected our body's systems are, from managing something huge like blood sugar down to protecting every single cell membrane from these constant tiny attacks.
It's fascinating. So thinking about all this, what really stands out to you from this whole exploration of our internal chemistry and defense mechanisms? Maybe consider for yourself how these microscopic battles are shaping your health every day, often in ways you don't even realize.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into how your body handles nutrients and energy.
Yeah, we've looked at some interesting stuff.
We've got the articles, the notes, and like always, we want to cut through the clutter.
Give you the key takeaways.
Exactly. Help you understand how your body works without getting bogged down. It's about getting informed efficiently.
Right. And we're going to connect a few ideas that might seem separate at first. Things like, protein quality, how we use it, and then the whole complex picture of energy storage.
See how it all fits together.
Yeah, hopefully giving you a clearer view of your metabolic health overall.
Okay, so let's kick things off with protein. You mentioned nitrogen balance. What's the gist of that?
So nitrogen balance, it's actually quite straightforward at its core. It's just the difference between the nitrogen you eat mostly from protein and the nitrogen your body gets rid of, through urine and other waste.
And why nitrogen? Why is that the marker?
Because protein is unique among the macronutrients in that it contains a significant amount of nitrogen. So tracking nitrogen gives us a really direct window into what's happening with protein in your body. Is it being built up or broken down?
Okay. So it tells a story. What are the different chapters then?
Well, there are basically three states. First, you've got positive nitrogen balance.
More in the know.
Exactly. You're holding on to more nitrogen than you're excreting. For you, this means your body's in building mode. Think growth spurts, pregnancy, building muscle after exercise, or recovering from an injury. You're synthesizing new tissue.
Makes sense. Building requires materials.
Precisely. Then there's negative nitrogen balance.
The opposite. More going out.
Yep. Excretion beats intake. This signals your body is breaking down more protein than it's getting. This isn't ideal, obviously. It can happen during starvation, serious illness, or even if your diet just lacks sufficient protein.
Your body starts using its own protein stores.
It does, unfortunately. And finally, zero nitrogen balance. Intake matches excretion.
Equilibrium.
That's the word. It's the typical state for a healthy adult whose body composition is relatively stable. Protein breakdown is matched by protein synthesis.
Right. So, for many of us aiming for fitness or recovery, that positive balance is key. Which leads to the next question. Does the type of protein matter as much as the amount? You mentioned biological value.
Yes. BV, or biological value. This moves beyond just quantity and looks at the quality of the protein. It measures how efficiently your body uses the protein it actually absorbs.
How much gets retained and put to work.
Exactly. So high biological value proteins are the most efficient. They contain all the essential amino acids, the ones your body can't make itself, in proportions that closely match your body's needs.
And where do we find those typically?
Typically in animal sources. Think eggs, milk, meat, fish. They're considered complete proteins.
Okay, and the flip side?
Low biological value proteins. These are usually lacking in one or more of those essential amino acids. Most plant proteins individually fall into this category.
But wait, does that mean vegetarians or vegans are at a disadvantage?
Not at all. And this is the really practical, crucial insight. You don't need individual foods to have high BV. By combining different plant proteins strategically throughout the day, the classic example is rice and beans, you can complement their amino acid profiles.
So together they provide the full set.
Precisely. You create a complete protein meal with a high overall biological value. It's about the combination.
That's really useful, practical stuff. Okay, so we've covered protein intake and quality. Let's zoom out a bit now. Let's talk about the bigger picture of energy balance and storage, specifically obesity.
Right. A major health topic?
We generally define it as excessive body fat accumulation that poses health risks. Often, body mass index, BMI, is used as a screening tool, with 30 or more indicating obesity.
Yeah.
But we know it's way more complex than just weight, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. It's incredibly multifaceted. The fundamental issue is, of course, a sustained energy imbalance consistently taking in more calories than you expend over a long period.
Calories in versus calories out, the basic equation.
Yes, but that equation is influenced by so much more. Hormones, for instance, play a huge role. There's leptin.
The satiety hormone, right?
Yeah.
So you're full.
Usually, yes. It's secreted by fat tissue itself.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. In many cases of obesity, the brain can become resistant to leptin signal.
So even though there's plenty of stored energy, the brain doesn't get the stop eating message.
Exactly. The signal isn't landing, leading to persistent hunger. Then you have ghrelin.
The hunger hormone.
That's the one. Secreted by the stomach, it stimulates appetite. The interplay between leptin and ghrelin is complex and can be disruptive.
And it's not just diet and hormones, is it? Genetics plays a part too.
It certainly can. Genetic factors can influence appetite regulation, your metabolic rate, how your body tends to store fat. It doesn't determine destiny, but it can, predispose individuals.
Okay, and what about the fat tissue itself? Adipose tissue, is it just storage?
Not at all. This is a really fascinating area of research. Adipose tissue isn't just passive blubber. It's an active endocrine organ.
Like the thyroid or pancreas. It makes hormones.
Yes. Your fat cells, adipocytes, which increase in both size and number in obesity, are constantly secreting hormones and other signaling molecules called adipokines. These signals influence insulin sensitivity, inflammation, appetite, and overall metabolism.
Wow. So fat isn't just sitting there, it's actively talking to the rest of your body.
It's a dynamic player in your body's whole metabolic conversation.
So pulling it all together, from the way we process specific amino acids measured by nitrogen balance and biological value, right up to these complex hormonal signals and our own fat tissue acting like an endocrine organ, it's all deeply interconnected.
It really is. None of these things operate in isolation. It paints a picture of a very sophisticated regulatory system.
Definitely gives you a lot to think about.
Indeed. Maybe that's the final thought for you listening. Considering how intricate these hormonal feedback loops are, and knowing your adipose tissue is actively involved in signaling, what new questions does that spark for you about how your own body manages energy and what truly influences your health? It's certainly more complex than we often give it credit for.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into something fascinating. Two areas of health that seem quite different on the surface, but they're actually deeply, deeply connected. We're talking about severe protein deficiency and also your body's constant kind of invisible war against cellular damage. We've got a really compelling clinical case to look at, plus some amazing details on how your body fights off microscopic threats, things like free radicals. Our goal really is to uncover these vital links, maybe shed some light on your own understanding of well-being. Okay, so let's jump in. We can start with this striking example. Picture a 2-year-old child. They present with, poor growth, really sparse hair, just lethargic, and significant edema swelling, plus a distended abdomen.
Right.
Lab tests, they show dangerously low serum albumin.
A key protein.
Exactly, and this whole picture points straight to kwashiorkor, which is a really severe form of protein energy malnutrition.
It's a stark picture.
It really is. Shows just how fundamental protein is.
Yeah, and what's so insightful here is digging into the why. Why those specific symptoms? That swelling, the edema, and the distended belly, the ascites, they're direct consequences of what's called hypoalbuminemia.
Low albumin.
Right, a marked drop in that serum albumin. Albumin is, it's a major protein in your blood. Think of it like a sponge, almost. It's crucial for holding fluid inside blood vessels, maintaining plasma oncotic pressure.
Okay.
When albumin levels plummet, like in kwashiorkor, fluid just leaks out. It seeps from the vessels into the surrounding tissues. That's your swelling. So it really hammers home that protein isn't just about muscle,
It's basic fluid balance.
Fundamental.
Okay, so that covers the visible crisis, the protein deficiency.
Yeah.
But you mentioned another challenge, this invisible one.
Free radicals.
Right. So what are they exactly?
Well, they're basically highly reactive molecules. They have an unpaired electron, which makes them unstable.
Okay.
You might hear them called ROS, reactive oxygen species. And look, they're actually natural byproducts. Your metabolism creates them constant.
Just by living.
Pretty much. But the problem comes when there's an excess. Too many of them overwhelm your body's defenses. That's oxidative stress.
And what kind of damage are we talking about?
Oh, it's quite extensive. Think of them as tiny wrecking balls inside your cells. They can attack your DNA, causing mutations, breaks. That's a pathway potentially leading to cancer.
Wow.
They can go after fats, lipids, especially in cell membranes. That's called lipid peroxidation. It compromises the cell's integrity, its outer wall.
So the cell itself is damaged.
Exactly. And they can also mess with proteins, modifying them so they don't function properly.
And this links to actual diseases.
Absolutely. It's not just theoretical damage. Oxidized LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, that's a direct contributor to atherosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, the DNA damage we mentioned, clearly linked to cancer development. Oxidative stress is also heavily implicated in neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's.
It seems pervasive.
It really is. And, free radical damage is actually one of the leading theories behind the aging process itself.
Okay, so our cells are under constant attack, basically. How does the body possibly defend itself against all this? What's the defense system look like?
It's actually quite sophisticated. Think of it in two main categories. You've got your enzymatic antioxidants. These are like specialized proteins your body makes itself to neutralize threats.
Built-in defenses.
Right. And then you have non-enzymatic antioxidants. These often come from your diet or your body makes them from other components.
Okay, tell me about the enzymatic ones first.
Sure. Key players include superoxide dismutase, or SOD. Its job is to take a particularly nasty free radical, superoxide, and convert it into hydrogen peroxide.
Hydrogen peroxide, isn't that also bad?
It can be, but the body has a plan. That's where catalase comes in. Catalase takes that hydrogen peroxide and quickly breaks it down to harmless water and oxygen.
Clever.
Very. And there's also glutathione peroxidase. It also deals with hydrogen peroxide, reducing it to water, but it needs a helper molecule called glutathione to do its job.
Okay, and the non-enzymatic team.
Right, these are maybe more familiar. Think vitamin E, specifically alpha-tocopherol. It's fat soluble, so it hangs out in cell membranes, protecting them from that lipid peroxidation damage.
Protects the cell walls.
Precisely. Then you've got vitamin C, ascorbic acid. It's water soluble, works in the watery parts of the cell. It scavenges free radicals directly, and it also helps regenerate vitamin E after it's done its job.
So they work together.
They do.
Yep.
And then there's glutathione itself. We mentioned it helps glutathione peroxidase, but it's also a major antioxidant in its own right, directly neutralizing free radicals inside cells. It's crucial for detoxification too.
So let's tie this all together. Back to that child with kwashiorkor, the protein deficiency, and now this whole antioxidant system. What's the main takeaway?
Well, the connection is profound, really. It's not just that severe protein deficiency messes up fluid balance because you lack albumin. That's critical, yes. But look at the antioxidant system we just discussed. What are those enzymatic antioxidants like SOD and catalase? They're protein. What about glutathione peroxidase? It needs glutathione. And glutathione itself, it's made from amino acids, the building blocks of protein.
So without enough protein.
Exactly. Without sufficient protein building blocks, your body literally cannot construct or maintain its primary defense system against oxidative stress, against that constant cellular damage that leads to aging and disease. It just underscores that these foundational nutrients, like protein, aren't just building blocks for muscle. They are absolutely essential for the incredibly intricate systems that protect every single cell.
Wow. Okay, so today, we've really seen both sides. The direct, visible consequences of not having enough protein, and then this hidden, but just as vital, internal battle against cellular damage by free radicals. It really highlights how interconnected everything is in the body.
It does. And perhaps this raises a crucial question for you listening. How might understanding these fundamental processes a bit better, from the protein you eat right down to these microscopic defenses inside your cells, how might that empower you to make more informed choices for your own health and well-being moving forward?
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really digging into the fascinating world of enzymes.
That's right.
Our mission, to see how these vital proteins act as, well, silent diagnosticians telling us what's wrong, but also how they work as powerful treatments. And then we'll get into something really interesting, ketosis, and the role enzymes play there.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, isn't it, how these tiny molecules, often unseen, are constantly at work.
Right.
Signaling problems, helping with healing. They give us these incredible insights into your health, your body's resilience.
Okay, let's unpack that first part.
Yeah.
How do enzymes work like tiny medical detectives inside us? What are the clues they leave?
Well, think of your organs like specialized factories. If one gets injured or diseased, some of its internal machinery, the enzymes can leak out.
Leak out where? Into the blood.
Exactly, into the bloodstream. And when the levels of specific enzymes go up, that rise acts as a biomarker. It's like an emergency flag. So for instance, if amylase and lipase levels are high, that strongly suggests pancreatitis inflammation in the pancreas.
Ah, so it's not just any enzyme going up, but the type of enzyme points to a specific organ or problem. That's quite specific.
Precisely. Now, are there false alarms? Sometimes, maybe, clinicians always look at the whole picture.
Context matters.
But often, they're incredibly reliable, like a rise in creatine kinase, especially the CKMB type. That's a key sign of a heart attack.
Wow.
And for the liver, if you see high alanine transaminase ALT and aspartate transaminase AST that points strongly to liver damage, it's basically your body sending out a very specific chemical SOS.
A biological alarm bells. Okay, I get the diagnostic part, but you mentioned treatments too. Can we actually use enzymes to fix things?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where their therapeutic power really comes in. We can give enzymes directly as medicine.
How does that work?
Well, take blood clots. Thrombolytic enzymes like streptokinase or urokinase are used to actually dissolve dangerous clots.
Dissolve them?
Yes. Say during a heart attack or a pulmonary embolism, that's a clot in the lung. These enzymes physically break down the clot. They clear the blockage.
That is a direct, life-saving intervention right there. What else? Any other examples?
Sure. Think about digestion. Someone who's lactose intolerant, we can give them the lactase enzyme to help break down milk sugar.
Ah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Supplementing what the body lacks.
Exactly. And even in cancer treatment, there's an enzyme, L-asparaginase, used for certain leukemias. It basically works by starving the cancer cells of an amino acid they need.
That's incredible versatility. So diagnostics, therapeutics, and you mentioned they're key in adapting energy use, which brings us to ketosis. Our bodies really do have backup plans for energy, don't they?
They absolutely do. And it raises a really fundamental question for you. What happens when glucose, your main fuel, runs low?
Right, like during fasting or a very low-carb diet.
Exactly. In those situations, your liver kicks into gear. Using specific enzymes, it starts a process called ketogenesis. It turns fat into these alternative fuel molecules, ketone bodies.
Ketone bodies, okay. But the liver makes them. Can it use them itself?
That's the fascinating part. No, it can't. The liver actually lacks a key enzyme, thiophrase, needed to break them down.
So it makes them, but ships them out.
Precisely. It sends them out to other tissues, your brain, your heart, your muscles. And there, using different enzymes in a process called ketolysis, those tissues break the ketone bodies back down into usable energy, ATP.
So ketosis is basically when these ketone bodies are circulating, being used as fuel. What does this whole strategy mean for us? Is it good, bad?
Well, it's mostly a really clever adaptation. Ketone bodies are a vital backup fuel, especially for the brain during, say, prolonged starvation. Keeps things running.
That sounds beneficial. A mild adaptive state.
Right, sometimes called starvation ketosis. But like many things in biology, it's about balance. If the process runs wild, like an uncontrolled type 1 diabetes,
then it's a problem.
A very serious one. You get excessive ketone production, leading to diabetic ketoacidosis or DKA. The blood becomes dangerously acidic.
Acidic, okay.
Yeah, it's a medical emergency. Patients with DKA might even have this distinct sort of fruity smell on their breath. That's acetone, one of the ketone bodies being expelled.
Wow. So from pinpointing disease, dissolving clots, to completely rewiring our energy systems, enzymes really are these unsung heroes, working constantly behind the scenes.
They really are. And if you look at the bigger picture, it just highlights the incredible adaptability, the complex chemical communication constantly happening inside your body, often totally without us noticing.
So what's the takeaway for you listening right now? Just consider that profound, often invisible impact, these tiny chemical powerhouses. They govern so much of your health, your energy levels, even your ability to adapt. It really makes you appreciate the intricate, intelligent design working within us all the time. Welcome, curious minds. Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're diving into an incredible deep dive you've prepared for us. It's a fascinating look at how your body, how it masterfully manages its energy, fueling itself through these really intricate metabolic pathways and incredibly precise regulation.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll be navigating through the articles and research you provided, sort of unraveling these vital processes, fatty acid oxidation, gluconeogenesis, and understanding the I guess, ingenious ways enzymes orchestrate the whole thing. Our mission really is to give you a shortcut, a way to get well informed about these fundamental biological mechanisms, showing you not just what happens, but also, why it matters for your body's amazing adaptive intelligence.
Okay, let's start with how your body gets energy from fat. We hear about burning fat all the time, right? But the actual process, beta oxidation, it's surprisingly elegant, really precise. Here's where it gets really interesting. This main pathway, it happens right inside your mitochondria, those tiny powerhouses in your cells. And it breaks down fatty acids, but not just randomly. It does it precisely 2 carbons at a time, producing these energy-rich molecules like acetyl-CoA, which is key for more energy, and also electron carriers NADH and FADH2. They power the final ATP production steps.
Right, and the energy yield is, well, it's truly remarkable. Just take a common fatty acid like palmitic acid. It has 16 carbons. It's complete oxidation. It can generate an astounding 106 ATP.
106?
Yeah. It really highlights why fats are such a dense fuel source. Incredibly efficient, very compact, so important for, sustained activity or when food is scarce. And the body's cleverness doesn't stop there. Beta oxidation is the main road, sure, but it even has these specialized detour pathways like alpha oxidation and omega oxidation. They're designed to handle unique fatty acids the main pathway can't quite process, making sure basically that no fuel source goes to waste.
Okay, so the body is a master at getting energy from fat. Got it. But what happens when our main fuel, glucose, runs low? Say you're fasting, or maybe after some really intense exercise. Does the whole system just grind to a halt?
Oh, far from it. That's where you see this amazing metabolic resilience. It's a process called gluconeogenesis. Basically, it's the pathway that synthesizes brand new glucose, but from non-carbohydrate stuff. Primarily happens in your liver.
Non-carbohydrate stuff, like what's...
Well, think of lactate from your muscles after a hard workout. Or glycerol, which gets released when fat is broken down. Even certain amino acids from protein breakdown can be used. This isn't just some minor backup plan. It's actually essential for keeping your blood glucose stable, especially for your brain, which really depends heavily on glucose.
Right, the brain needs that glucose.
Exactly. And what's really clever is how this pathway manages to, bypass the normal glucose breaking pathway, glycolysis. Some steps in glycolysis are like one-way streets. They're irreversible. So gluconeogenesis uses different enzymes, finds these creative workarounds, essentially reversing the process to keep your system fueled up.
These pathways sound incredibly complex, and they're constantly shifting, you said, based on what the body needs. But how does the body know? How does it know when to, say, activate gluconeogenesis or ramp up breaking down fat?
That's got to be the enzymes, right? You mentioned them, the speed masters inside our cells. Precisely. Enzymes drive almost every reaction. But just as important as making reactions happen is controlling when and how fast they happen. And a key way the body does this is through inhibition. Basically, putting the brakes on certain enzymes.
Inhibition. Okay.
Yes, it's a critical control mechanism, keeps everything in balance. And there are different types. For instance, competitive inhibition. That's where some molecule directly blocks the enzyme's active site, the place their real substrate needs to bind. A classic example is statins. They lower cholesterol by inhibiting a key enzyme in the cholesterol production line.
Ah, okay. So it competes for the spot.
Exactly. Then there's something called irreversible inhibition. This is more permanent. The inhibitor forms a really strong covalent bond with the enzyme, basically takes it out of action for good. Think of aspirin. It irreversibly inhibits an enzyme called cyclooxygenase, which helps reduce inflammation. Or penicillin, which targets a crucial enzyme bacteria need to build their cell walls.
I see. So some temporary blocks and permanent shutdowns.
Right. These different inhibition mechanisms show how elegantly the body fine-tunes its entire metabolic symphony right down at the molecular level. And, understanding these off switches has been absolutely revolutionary for medicine.
It really is astounding how these processes that seem separate, breaking down fat, making new glucose, controlling enzymes, how they're all so tightly interconnected. It's like a perfectly orchestrated dance, managing supply and demand second by second.
Absolutely. Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it paints this vivid portrait of your body's incredible adaptive intelligence. It's not just passively reacting to whatever fuel you give it, it's proactively managing its resources. Remarkable efficiency. Like a master conductor, making sure every part of the orchestra plays perfectly in time.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? This raises an important question. What other layers of this incredibly finely tuned metabolic brilliance might be happening inside you right now? Quietly ensuring your body runs perfectly, ready for whatever life decides to throw at it next.